Back too. Welcome everyone. Let's try that again. Welcome everyone. Good morning to you too. Yes. I wanted to just say that we're starting a new sermon series this week. For the next 4 weeks, we're doing something called The Face of Christ. And this is going to be a video series. So I'm interviewing people, sort of like I did last year, but this one has a little different feel to it. So the first interview, which you're going to see part of it here in just a minute, was with Steve Rowe and Eric Howard and 3 guys from Beacon of Hope. And the interview lasted 33 minutes, which is normally not a big deal because I can cut it down. Except I had no idea how to cut this down. It was so good from top to bottom. So I got it down to 26 minutes, and 4 or 5 of those minutes I showed that I cut out today, I showed on Wednesday. If you want to see that, you can go and watch the sermon from Wednesday. And so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to let the video run, and then we'll talk a little bit later. So we got it in 3 parts, and the middle section is going to be all video, and I'll talk a little bit in the third section. So that said, here we go. So I'm down here in Fort Dodge today with Beacon of Hope. On my left I have Steve Rowe, and this is Tim on my right. And over here is Eric Howard. Steve and Eric are kind of
brothers.
Kind of brothers. I was going to say frickin' frack, something like that. Yeah. And you know what? Could you pull over this way so we can see you? Because you're not in the camera yet. And remind me, your first name again is? Zach. And we got Chad back here. Mm-hmm. And I've met Chad a few hundred times before. Some of these guys are new to me. As you know, Steve and I have and Eric, really, we've had a long and glorious relationship, and it started. How many years you guys been doing this, Steve?
Well, it's 11 years going on 12.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Okay, I could not remember. Somebody asked me that this morning.
Yeah.
I could not remember. And so 11 years in this building, or? Mm-hmm. My goodness.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, Zach.
Is that your phone?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Steve, just tell us a little bit about how you got this started, and then I'm going to go to Eric after that. So.
Well, goodness, that's kind of a long story. But if you want the short version, basically, it was something that God put on my heart, like, I call it like a toothache. You know, it just wouldn't go away. It was like throbbing there, like, do it.
Yeah.
You have to do it. You have to do it.
Yeah.
And so the long story short was, once I made the decision and I bought the building, I mortgaged my house to buy the building. It no longer belongs to me. It's in the corporation now, but nobody else was going to buy the building. And so because of the ministry of going to the homeless camps in Des Moines, mm-hmm. That is what led me to the passion that I felt we needed something in Fort Dodge. So I basically quit my job, sold a number of my things, and invested it.
Including a really nice car, as I remember.
That was my truck.
Yeah.
My
really
truck.
Nice. Yeah.
I got rid of my brand new truck, and I bought a van from the Boys Ranch for $500. Mm-hmm. And you could see the ground underneath them. But I didn't know. I mean, I didn't have a job.
Yeah.
So I wasn't quite sure, how.
You weren't sure where your next nickel was going to come from.
No.
Yeah.
And with that being said, the building was totally dilapidated, and the sewer system here was always constantly plugged. We even had the basement flood. We didn't have the bathrooms done. I had to take guys out to the campground or get a motel room so guys could take showers. We had nights where we had no food, mm-hmm. and all of a sudden somebody would bring funeral food,
Mm-hmm.
and so we were able to feed them. We always fed them, and we always paid our bills. God kept providing. And then, so I did quit my job, and I lived off my savings for the first year. And then slowly, Eric and I were able to get $1,000 here, maybe $1,000 there, just to help us. Just when I asked Eric to come on, I forgot to tell him that we weren't getting paid.
That's correct.
Well, that's just a minor fact.
Well, and I'll tell you why I didn't tell him he wasn't getting paid, because I heard the Lord speak to me, and because Eric and I were communicating, me here and Eric in Phoenix. And the Lord told me, I had no idea that he was even thinking about moving, but the Lord told me, this is the man that's going to come by your side and walk with you.
And you were in Phoenix?
Yeah.
Sure
Are
did.
you living there, or
Yeah, working at the Phoenix Rescue Mission.
how did you guys get connected? I mean,
My
Phoenix is
mother-in-law-
Well, there's his
Phoenix is a
story.
mile or two.
Yeah, but
Away
my
from Fort
mother-in-law read the Messenger. The Messenger had came and interviewed
sure.
Steve about
Yeah.
about everything he mentioned.
So it was Annette's mom.
Yeah, sure did. And
Yeah.
when I read it, I was like, I'm just like, this is so cool, because I've been in rescue mission work for a while, and I was like, Steve left a number there.
Yeah.
I think it was a Facebook number or something, and so I actually sent him a message. And so within 2 weeks, he called me, and the conversation was just, who are you? Evidently, when he got my message, it was something that he needed at the moment, whatever. He was trying to do all this by himself at the time, and so when he called me, we just began to have a friendship through the phone from Phoenix all the way from here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow, that's crazy. And you know what? I know your backstory from Chicago, but I don't want you to tell that today.
Yeah,
Because
that's
I'm going to
right.
have you up to my church some Sunday.
Is that
And I
right?
want you to tell that story.
What a
Yeah,
privilege.
yeah. And being as I've already heard it, I don't have to be there, so I'm going to be on vacation.
That's good.
But I would love for my congregation to get to know you too.
Right.
So I want to hear a little bit about your stories too. You next to me here, Tim. You get to me first. So tell me about how you got here.
Well, my mother got really ill, and we didn't know if she was going to make it. And because she's already got 6 stents in her heart, one in her neck, and one in her leg, and she was having real problems. It was like she was having a heart attack, but it wasn't a heart attack. And but they found out finally what that was. It was her medication that she was taking that was doing it to her. But I lived in Adel for about 8 months or so, and I came to Fort Dodge. I came to Fort Dodge to go to CFR. And I got a CFR, went to the guest house, then I started working. And I've been here, I've been in Iowa for around about 4.5 years now in Texas.
Okay.
I don't like the winters.
I'm from here. I don't like it.
I do not like snow. It does not snow where I'm from. But this place has been a godsend for me because if it wasn't for this place, I don't know what I would have done. I'd be out on the street just trying to make it or this or that or do what I could. I've done that once before when I was back home. I think I made it 3 days and no, I don't like the boats and I don't like the heat. And I don't like the winds.
Yeah.
You know, I like it in the shower. You can do everything you need. Here they've got everything you need. You've got your hygiene, you've got showers, you've got bathrooms. You're fed. These people come in and take very good care of us.
Yep.
I think it's great meals go out of the way for us.
Yeah. Well, you know, there's something about the structure of this place, and I know
Yeah.
you talked about rules a little earlier when we were having lunch.
Yeah.
And but that gives the world a structure that is really a blessing.
Yes, it is. That's
Yeah.
something that I feel that everybody should have in their life. Because without structure, I'm lost.
Yeah. Yeah. As we all are. As we all are. There isn't one of us that doesn't need that.
You just have something you have to have.
Yeah.
And we do the best we can. Everybody does around here to give back for everything that we're given.
Yeah, and that's, I watch that all the time around here. It's just crazy what happens.
Yeah.
Tim, I got a little secret for you in
Yeah.
terms of the winters here.
Uh-huh.
There is no such thing as bad weather, only bad clothing. Okay?
Oh,
That's how you fix that.
That's something I had to learn the hard way.
Dress for it.
Well, Chad, tell me a little bit about, tell the folks a little bit about your story here. Because you've been here for a while.
A story of how I got here, or how?
I'm tossing the ball to you, my friend. You just do what you want to do.
Well,
How long you been here?
I've been here. Oh, it's been open almost 12 years. That means I've been here almost, probably about 11 years.
Yeah.
Between 10 and 11 years.
And we've known each other for a long
Oh
time.
yeah. What brought me here was really in my past I had a drug addiction that God delivered me out of, and I was I wasn't really looking for a job. I was at home, probably depressed and all that, anyways. But I had a friend that was on the board on the board, and he recommended me to Steve and Eric. So one day I just showed up here, went in the office, talked with them for a little while, and they put me down here with Ray Brown.
Oh, yeah, I remember Ray.
Yeah, with little Ray
Oh,
Brown.
man. We did his funeral
right.
up at St. Olaf.
Yeah.
Oh, what a prince of a man.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but
Over the 10 years, like you said, they changed me too.
Yeah.
I'm not the person I originally started out as.
yeah.
I mean, do I need a lot more refining? I'm sure I do. But that's
Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you, Chad, you were one of the guys that changed a bunch of respectable church folk into folks who knew that they were being loved by Jesus, and that was you. That was God working through you. So
still working.
it still is. It still is. Yeah. And so, Chad, do you have a job right now, or what do you do?
I'm actually employed here.
You're employed. Okay, yeah, you're employed here in the
Yeah,
ministry.
I've never been homeless per se.
Yeah.
By choice over the years as a kid, but Mom always let me come back home.
Yeah.
So I've never really been homeless.
Yeah. So,
I've been employed here for 10, almost 11
I guess I
years,
should have
so-
known that. I'm sorry. Yeah, yeah. You know, so basically what happened is not only did they give you a place and a meal, but God used the place to give you purpose as well.
Still giving me purpose.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Okay, Zach, so you have not been here all that long. You said what? Was it 7 months? Okay. Tell me a little bit about how you landed here.
It's okay, Dad.
Yeah,
Yeah. You can
Okay,
tell
I'm
them.
good, buddy.
talk about it, brother.
It helps.
I had my own apartment, and my dad moved in, and he brought furniture over from crash house after crash house, and they had bed bugs in them, so I had to move. So that's why I'm here.
But your dad was homeless, right?
Yeah.
and he used you as a place to stay and manipulated you and would bring people over, they'd use drugs.
Yeah.
And so you, because of the bugs, you lost your apartment.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about your diagnosis?
It's okay, bud.
I have autism,
You have autism and
schizophrenia.
schizophrenic,
Yeah.
and is it called dual personalities? There's two of you?
Yeah.
Yeah. They're both good guys. They are, they're both
Yeah, we
good
know them
guys.
both.
Zach, let me tell you about the people who are on the other side of that camera. They're not back there right now, but they're gonna see you in a week at church. And let me tell you about them. They're the most loving, kind people on the face of the planet. And what you just told us about yourself will be held with the greatest love and respect. I can promise you that.
See, I'm glad that Zach is here to talk to you because it's important for me that people understand who lives with us. And Zach is not an uncommon resident of the Beacon of Hope. I was telling you a story earlier about Nate, who lives with us, that is just pretty much out of control, and we brought him in off the street because we didn't want to watch him sleeping on the sidewalk anymore.
Yeah.
But he, no meds and out of control.
And his mom passed last
Yeah,
week.
his mom passed away last week.
Oh my.
Yeah, and so he's got a lot of things going
Got a few
through his
things on the
head.
plate, doesn't he? Yeah.
But it's real hard for us to even allow him to be in our building.
Yeah.
But we don't want to, we just don't want to leave him on the street.
Yeah.
And so, Zach is just one of the other guys who struggles with mental illness, along with many of the guys that live here that are either bipolar, which I myself am bipolar, and have ADHD, and anxiety and depression. And so there's a number of guys that are schizophrenic, bipolar. Here's what's really bad right now. Our med cabinet, we have 4 totes in there. But we have a whole lot more people that need to be on meds than 4.
4 toes.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it can get to be just a little bit of a circus in here.
I'll bet so.
But Eric and I are constantly working at trying to get guys out to Berry Hill, get them on their meds, go to their appointments with them
Yep.
to make sure that they're getting stable.
Yep. Yep.
And then we wait for them to be able to get housing. And I think that's another problem is, people don't realize how long it takes someone like Zach to get his next apartment.
Yep. Yep.
We have no idea how long he'll be here. And we've had guys stay as long as a year to 2 years waiting for the proper housing.
Well, and I remember
So-
early on, it was still the case, but one of my parishioners, I can't say his name right now, but I said...
Larry?
Larry, yeah, yeah. And I remember having this conversation with you, and I said, how long are you going to be able to keep him? He said, he'll be here the rest of his life. And he was.
And he was.
And he was, yeah.
He died, he went up to the hospital, and Eric and I went to see him, and he said, my family from Kansas City do not want me to die in a homeless shelter, and they're gonna come and get me. And the social worker came up to me and she said, you can take him back to the shelter now. I said, no, I said, his family's coming to get him. And the social worker said, no, we've called every family member and no one will take him. And I'm like, well, he just told us. And she goes, no, they're not. And I looked at the social worker and I said, I'm not taking him either. And I said, I am not going to allow this man to die in a homeless shelter. So the social worker was forced to put him in a nursing home where he was able to have a room with a bathroom right by his bed. Everything he did here was a struggle,
It was.
you know, and it wasn't right. And Larry was mad because he considered this home.
This was his home.
I just could not let him die here. He was supposed to have surgery and he died He died a week later.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I don't know if you know this or not, but his time here at Beacon, and I knew him for 10 years before that.
Yeah.
That was the most stable time in his life. I was at his place regularly, and it was always a service. It was always a mess for him. But
Yeah.
you guys really made a big difference for him. I remember that.
And he made a difference for us.
Oh, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Yeah, in a lot of interesting ways.
Character.
Oh my,
What that
oh
means.
my. Yeah, Lord.
So I have to tell you something. When I was doing this interview, just beforehand, they introduced me to Zach. I sat down and had lunch with him and just tried to carry on a conversation. I absolutely could not carry on a conversation with the guy. And then I found out he was going to be one of the interviewees, and I thought, oh my, this is going to crash and burn. But look what happened. I mean, it was just, his story is just so compelling, and it's the story of so many people who live in this place. So I want to talk about the scripture passage that Allie just read. It's from Exodus chapter 33, and just a little bit of background here. Moses and God's people are out in the wilderness, right? And they're out in the wilderness, but they are journeying toward a land that God has promised them. And this journey is taking 40 years, and God not only promised them this land, but he promised something else. He said, I will be with you all throughout this. And at first Moses isn't sure about it, then God says it again, and now he believes it, and the idea that God is going to be present with them brings Moses so much comfort. Because as Moses said to God, he said, your presence is what sets us apart from everybody else. Your presence gives us a sense of direction and a sense of purpose in life. There's just one problem with all of that. God was going to go with them, to be sure, but God could not let anyone, including Moses, see his face directly. You heard that in the lesson. Why? Well, because God is so big, and God is so powerful, and God is so awesome that to look upon him, just a mere mortal, would scare you literally to death. You would die looking at him. I mean, think about it. This is the God who, with one word or just a few words, brought the entire universe into existence. And all the powers and everything that we fear and everything that could harm us, he is above all of that. That's why you can't look at him face to face. I don't know if you remember or not. Some of you may. I've got this little example So what I want you to do is, in terms of looking at God, I want you to imagine that you are blindfolded and that someone has taken you to the edge of the Grand Canyon and has put your feet right here, right on the ledge. You could curl your toes over that ledge. And you can feel the gravel is loose and there's a slight wind at your back. And then you take off the blindfold. Are you looking at the beauty and the majesty of the Grand Canyon? Not a chance. You are looking straight down at something that if you just have one little slip or the wind blows a little further, you're gone. That's what this means. That's what when God says you can't look at me face to face, that's what he's talking about. Here's the kicker. The way God appears to us in his raw majesty is not God's heart. God's heart is a heart of love. And God has this intense desire to be approachable to you and to me. So much so that over time, he sheds all of that. He becomes the exact opposite of the way he appears. Right? So it's no longer God in his raw majesty, God awesome power. He has all those things, but he doesn't show us that anymore. Instead, what he does is he becomes God from beneath us, God from below us. He comes first in the form of Jesus, right? Who loves us so much that he takes on all of the world's sin, and he takes on all the shame that the world could shovel on him, and he dies for you. He becomes low. He is beneath us to save us from our sin. That's where it starts, but it doesn't stop there. Because God is still with us in exactly the same physical way. Physically, he's not here, right? Guess again. He is here, physically. Because every time you stoop down and look into the eyes of someone who is the least among us, the hungry, the poor, the homeless, those who the world has regarded as throwaway people, every time you look into their faces, what you're doing is you're seeing the face of God. Right? And as Moses has said, your presence, God, is what sets us apart from everybody else in the world. Your presence is what gives our lives meaning and direction and purpose. So this sermon series, we're going to be focusing on some of the ministries that we are a part of, and maybe a ministry or two that we're not a part of. This is really sort of a gearing up for our stewardship event with the meals, and also thinking about how we're going to give to the church in the next year. And let me tell you, there's this massive misconception about what stewardship is. Everybody in the world thinks that stewardship is the time, is this thing that happens when the church needs money. No. Stewardship is what happens to your heart when you stoop down and you look into the faces of the least among us. And God changes you because of it. So I want you to listen to this last segment, because as it turns out, we have a common friend in something called Joppa Ministries, something we're going to be supporting in November. Listen up.
Right now, we are working on a fall project where we're going to gather up $6,000, and we already have a pledge of $3,000. And then we're going to buy the food for 20,000 meals, and we're going to package 20,000 meals. Most of it's gonna go to Haiti.
Yeah.
Some of it is gonna go down to, some of it's gonna go down to Des Moines. There's one food pantry that will take this food, because nobody else wants it. And that's a pantry that services 5 homeless camps down there.
Oh,
Oh, Joplin?
yeah.
Joppa, that's what it is, yeah,
Yeah.
Joppa.
Wow.
Yeah, that's what
We have been involved with Joppa, making the connections to the camps.
is that right?
Yeah, so we've had somewhat of a relationship
Yeah.
with Joppa for many years.
We called a bunch of homeless, or we called a bunch of food banks, nobody wanted this food. Because most of the people that the homeless shelter, or the food pantries service in this area, they're not people who are hungry, they're people who are food insecure. And so they get something like that, and it looks like it's something that needs to go to Haiti, right?
Right.
But what Joppa's doing is they're servicing people who are really hungry.
They go
They go right to 'em.
every Sunday
Yeah,
and they have stops all over Des Moines,
Yep.
and then the people from that camp walk over to the vehicle and they give out what they ask for or their needs. Or it could be the week before they would maybe ask,
Yeah.
what else do you need? They also provide propane
oh my,
tanks
really?
to heat their
To
tents.
heat their tents or
Yep,
whatever they have.
yep.
Yep.
So Joppa is just incredible for helping the homeless.
Wow.
Yeah.
And by the way, let me just say this as well. I'm not throwing stones at the other food banks, because they're doing something that's very valuable.
Right.
But the people that they're servicing they have great need, but they're not in a position where the least of us are in.
Right.
And that's I
That's
don't
the
I don't want anybody to think
That's
that I'm
the difference.
dissing I'm dissing
No,
food banks,
and
because I'm not.
I want to say something about the food bank too. Is the food bank actually contacted us? Are you okay? Both of you. But the food bank contacted us and said we could get food from them, and I told them, I said, when I started this, somebody said, how are you going to feed the men here? And I said, well, God told me and put it on my heart that it was going to be the community. And the community. And so if that were true, I would not need food from the food bank. And I know that there's people that have to go to the food bank to get, I mean, there's many different
Absolutely. Yeah.
government funded,
Yeah.
like rehab,
Yeah.
different types of shelters that they rely on the food bank
Yeah.
to get their food.
Yeah.
And I'm like, we don't rely on them, and we never have.
And you know what? If you did rely on them, you wouldn't have the connections with congregations like First Lutheran.
Right.
Right.
It's, I mean, you've drawn us in to encounters with Jesus just simply by doing
Right.
that.
But now you have to understand something. I barely graduated from high school, and I'm kind of, a little slow. But see, when God starts speaking to you, why? The question was, well, why? My question to God would be, well, why do you think that why would it be the community serving them? And the Lord spoke back to me and he said, because they need to be blessed. They need to be part of the ministry so they get back, that they receive, and they understand the power of service, what it does to our heart. Because a lot of people, they wonder what their purpose is. But see, our purpose was, we need the homeless. We need the broken. We need the mentally ill. We need them so that we can be fulfilled in the service that God created us to be. And that's why so many people are miserable, because they're not stepping into and understand
Yeah.
what it's like to serve.
Yeah.
So,
That's right. When your biggest worry is going out to eat and the French fries are too cold,
that's why I go to McDonald's.
and that's
This is taking back
Actually,
the
like-
but that's
I'll still eat them.
I mean all these first world things that we think are so
Right.
important.
This is taking back the
French
Hardee's.
fries?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you guys, this place and you guys, you draw us into into deeper things and deeper purposes.
But I think for
You said it beautifully, Steve.
I think for Eric and I and other staff, though, I mean, I think for us, we've always had to wait on the Lord. You know, we can't get into our heads like, well, this is what it's got to be, and no, we need to listen to the instructions of God, because when I started this, I had social workers, or actually the president of the Coalition for the Homeless, and I told her I was going to start a homeless shelter. She goes, what do you know about shelters? I said, I don't know anything. She goes, well, are you a social worker? Do you have a degree? And she's like, and I said, no, I'm a barber. And she goes, how are you going to do this? And I pointed up in the air and go, God, now you see how stupid that looks.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
If
But-
it's black and white, it
but
takes God out of
God-
the equation.
God made everything work.
Yeah, yeah. It's called Fools for Christ.
That's right.
Yeah, that's what it's called.
We're fools for Christ.
Yep.
That's for sure.
Yep. Guys, thank you so much. This has been
You're welcome.
just the greatest experience, and I hope that you know what, you made my job preaching easy, because normally what I would do after this is I'd preach a sermon. Anything I'd say after this is going straight downhill. So, thanks so much, everybody.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's take an offering.